Hi, it's Rabbi Lewis wishing you an early Shabbat shalom. Our Torah portion this week is actually a double portion. It's called Tazria-Metzora, and I want to focus on this latter one this week, the Metzora, because it's referring to the person who has this leprous infection on their body and how we treat them. And without going into great detail, it gives us lots of the ick factor of describing all of the little pustules and things that happen to the skin and so on. Now, most doctors will tell you when they read this that this is not actually leprosy as defined in medical journals, but really some other type of skin infection that was very specific to uh, what what the Levitical priests were identifying as something that would make a person impure. So there's no direct medical link today to what's being described in the Torah. It's something very specific to this section. But that's really less important to the larger message in that in a post-temple and a post-sacrifice period, what do we do about what happens to the person with a skin infection? Because it's not about the medicine. It's not really even about how we treat people who are stricken with the disease, because it is somewhat cruel what happens in our Torah, because they're cast out, they're sent to these other areas to live until they're healed, and then they're checked before they come back, and it's not the most compassionate. So the rabbis become less concerned about whether a person is in a pure state to be back in the community and then to be able to be present for the sacrifices in a state of holiness so that they can participate in the communal offerings. They turn this into a lesson about evil speech. And they'll say that, later in the Torah, Miriam and Aaron will be spreading evil speech about Moses' wife, and Miriam will get stricken with these scales, the tzara'at, that are being described in this section of Leviticus. And they'll say, well, this is clearly the punishment for evil speech. And then it becomes a metaphor, because are they really telling us that by spreading gossip that you or I could then be stricken with this infection? No, but the metaphor is that it spreads. It can spread from person to person to person like a virus, like a bad disease, like a really bad skin infection that can be spread by contact. That our speech acts in the same way until it affects the entire community, making the community impure by virtue of that language that gets spread. And they will even say that clearly the Torah will tell us that it spreads to the walls of our homes and infects our homes as well. And it's a warning for us that when we speak negatively about another person or about an organization or about other communities, that it is something that is more than just a word. It is something that really penetrates our souls. It really penetrates the very air we breathe. It penetrates the walls of our buildings, and you can feel it in a very visceral way. And it's a warning to us to watch what we say. The rabbis will teach that evil speech harms three: the person who hears it, the person who it's about, but also the person who speaks it as well. That all three suffer from evil speech, and therefore we should be very conscious of what we say before we say it. Is it true? Is it kind? Does it need to be said? All of these things can help guide us in understanding how we avoid not the literal tzara'at and become a Metzora ourselves, but how we avoid the tzara'at of Lashon Hara, of our evil speech. Anyhow, those are my thoughts on the Torah portion this week. Have a great weekend, and Shabbat Shalom.